Hey guys, welcome back to the What About AI podcast. I'm Sean Boyce.
I'm James Perkins.
And the topic we're going to talk about today, maybe a little depressing title-wise, but we're going to get into it, I promise, is the forever layoff. And
Actually, that's pretty depressing.
that's not a good start, I agree. So let me give you a chance to explain. So where we're coming from with this topic is basically with the record number of layoffs that have happened both in 2025 and 2026, off to a pretty rough start there. January, I think, was the highest number of layoffs for a number of years. The question basically is, especially for those of you out there who are either maybe waiting to be disrupted by it or afraid you may be disrupted by AI and these layoffs, or already have been, unfortunately, is, what does that look like in terms of your plans and timing? So the topic I think we want to pull apart a little bit more, and this is where this title comes from, is this really a lull? Is this a phase? Or is this basically the new normal, which I think is increasingly starting to kind of look like that, and or may it actually continue to get worse? So anyway, where do you want to start?
Dude, that is very depressing.
I know. Well, let's try to turn it around by the end.
Yes, this is the new normal. So for the companies that are doing layoffs now, I have not seen them flipping around and hiring back a big chunk. Like, oh, we laid off too many folks, we need more back. I haven't seen too much of that. And we've been doing this for several months now. I don't think it's going to happen. The market's not going to recover because it's not a downturn. The stock market's the highest it's been. Like, it can only go down from here. It's not going to keep going up forever. If you watch the State of the Union last night and you think the stock market's going to keep rising for infinity, more power to you. I don't think that's possible. So at this point, it's going to continue to get worse. But what does that mean for you? I think that's really what we want to share here.
Yep.
At this point, you have to either better yourself, meaning learn how to use the latest and greatest tech to advance yourself in your career. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's a common expression. It's true in this case. If you're avoiding AI tech entirely, that is not going to help you. If you think that people are going to choose human over AI, companies are not. People might, but companies will not. So you really have to be mindful of how can you augment yourself in this AI world. If you were recently laid off and you're looking for jobs, you're not, even if you were the best of the best in your industry, if you don't have some AI awareness and knowledge and know how to use it, you are not going to find employment. We've dealt with so many folks who have been laid off that cannot find work, and things didn't change for them until they basically learned how to use AI. So our coaching services is probably our highest uptake because there's that many people looking for help. The second thing I would say is, if you're currently employed and you see layoffs happening around you, don't assume that you're safe because you're performing well in your job. That's a point in time measure, right? Like, every year you have a performance review. Every year the company reevaluates whether or not you're performing to their standard or what they need. Right now we're at the AI at the PhD level phase. It's very knowledgeable. It can do a great deal of things, but it can't do them unattended. You have to do a lot of fine tuning and controls. You're monitoring all of its actions. That's not going to be the case in a year to 2 years. And even if you're saying, oh, it's going to take much longer than that for companies to adopt, you could be right, but it's not longer than 5 years. So I hate the title Forever Layoffs. And I hate that companies are finding savings through laying off employees and going all in on AI. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It is happening. And you have to take action to help yourself.
Yep, agreed. Well said. And same. It's not the most ideal topic. However, I think the best way probably to protect yourself is, I always look at it from the perspective of maybe a range of possibilities. Maybe this is as bad as it gets. Or maybe, this is worst case scenario. This is actually relatively rosy and it's going to get worse from here. Or it's somewhere in the middle. And I think about, what I might do depending upon any one of those types of scenarios in terms of how this plays out. And then if I plan in that way, I'm usually prepared for ideally what's next, because I've considered theoretically all the possibilities. Having said that, I would put yourself in the mindset that this is probably the new normal. And what I mean by that is that will better prepare you for basically whatever happens from here. So hopefully it only gets better from here. If it does, great, you'll be really well prepared. But if it does get worse or it stays about the same, you'll be prepared for that too. And what I think that looks like is taking a proactive role in upskilling yourself and figuring out how to leverage these technologies, because we've seen companies essentially be ruthlessly unapologetic about how aggressive they've been with trying to become more profitable, trying to pump up the markets and things like that. That's a lot of what's driving this rally. It's forever kind of been referred to thus far about like the AI rally, and people talk about a potential crash and all that kind of stuff, but it's become a really kind of critical element to what is driving a lot of things economically. Now, we could talk for days about how much that is real and what adoption looks like and so on and so forth, but we try to cut through that noise for you guys and give you basically like what's happening on the ground floor now so you can prepare yourself for it. So if that's what companies are doing and they're pretty unapologetic about making cuts, where they're typically looking to make cuts is where they can save the most. And on companies' balance sheets, for the most part, their biggest group of expenses is usually in their overhead or their salary, which means their workforce, unfortunately. So that means if they're going to entertain doing layoffs where they want to become more profitable, that's usually the way that they do it. So that's the bad news, but that's just what I want you to be prepared for and understand about how this stuff works. So what does that mean for you? What should you do about what does actually upskilling yourself look like? So I would say take a look at how you do your role today, or how you used to if you're actively searching, and then start figuring out how you can use AI tools to basically do that differently, and differently in a better way. When I say better, figure out how you can produce more effective results and more efficiently. So basically, do more with less time. That would be an exponential improvement. You may be able to do 2x or 4x, whatever you did before, but by leveraging AI. And the more you do that, the more you upskill yourself, you're going to have case studies and social proof and all kinds of stuff you can point to, and you can speak to the value that you're capable of by figuring out how to do that. Another, I think, tip that I would share here as well too is look at ways to automate just about as much of it as you can. So look at any of the work that you do, where we all do work in our respective jobs and professions that maybe we don't love or is a little boring or monotonous or whatever. Start with that stuff, right? Start with something that is pretty straightforward, hopefully relatively easy to automate, and figure out how to do that with AI, and then just keep adding to it, right? Just keep going up and up and up, and you'll start with kind of the relatively remedial stuff, and you'll probably eventually get to some of the strategic elements, which can provide significantly more value, because those are, big picture vision elements, and AI is getting better and better at helping you with that kind of stuff as well too. So those are kind of the general guidelines that I would share. Prepare yourself for the fact that this may be the new normal. As such, you'll probably be prepared ideally for just about anything, and then start leveraging these tools and the tech, AI in this case, to be able to automate as much of the work that you do as possible, and then just level it up as well.
Yeah, and there's no, by the way, like, there's no way it levels off here. I know, I know Sean put that out there as a possibility, unless we have a Stone Age situation, like a solar flare knocks out all technology, some outrageous scenario.
Anthropic is down today.
It is down right now. It's not going to slow down. It may plateau for a little bit, but not for very long. A couple more tips, because we just had a conversation with a client this week. If you're applying to jobs and you're getting interviews, use AI for that too. So before your interview, search for your specific job function and what that company you're interviewing with has done with that role. Like, have they made, if you're a supply chain manager, have they made recent changes in their supply chain behaviors? Or have they changed providers they purchase from? Have some of that information ready to go. And you don't have to Google search for it anymore. You can say, hey, build me a report on this company and all of their behaviors or all of their changes in supply chain management. Boom. You'll have that before your interview. I think the last thing I'll leave you with is don't despair. So we gave you options if you're looking for work. Another thing to learn how to do is do it yourself. Like, start your own business. We've helped so many people start businesses in the past 3 months. It's unfathomable. And they're doing well. I mean, not everyone's making money in their first 3 months, but several are. It's possible now. It's not, you don't have to wait a year or have 2 years of money in the bank hoping for income to start. If you're getting a business going, you can do things you couldn't do before as a one-person team. So look at that as an option too. If you have something, a knack that you're really interested in or something you're really good at doing, don't be afraid to try going out on your own. Now's the right time.
Yeah, for sure. I think with AI and what these tools can do, it's better, faster, cheaper than the previous generation of
Yeah.
what we had access to. So if you've got an idea you wanted to pursue for a while, and you have the opportunity maybe to do that on the side, nights and weekends or whatever, while you're doing your current job, or if unfortunately you've already been displaced and you're shopping around for a new job already anyway, if you want to fill some of that time with a side hustle or something you're considering doing that you maybe always wanted to, I think now is a good opportunity to do that, because that also counts double for you get to learn the technology and add those skills. Plus, at the same time, you may bring in a supplementary income stream, or maybe that reaches a point where it surpasses what was your full-time job, and now you're an entrepreneur. So that could be a win-win too.
Very true.
Cool. You good on this one?
I think so.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it.
Thanks all.